Calling all health practitioners. I'm going to tell you how we can change and save the world. Yes, how we can not just heal the body, but heal the world, knowing not just the blueprint of the body, but the blueprint of the world. So I'm going to go into detail with this, and it says even on the screen for you there, it says by treating the root cause to all evil. It says the following was created particularly for doctors, physicians, and health practitioners. For I am one, and as I will introduce. The field of health consists of many great individuals doing great work. Reposting the following article and video is allowed. This is completely of no profit. So the following was written by myself. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, and I'm simply a fellow messenger, here to deliver a message that I see is very, very important, as you can tell by the title of this video and the title of the article here, that you can find at nita.one/health if you want to just read it for yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to read it for you here. So it says, in honor and wisdom from Western and Eastern medicine, I humbly ask you to please read over the following as a human being who cares for the world around and seeking truly preventative and integrative medicine. I understand the time constraints of many health professionals. Therefore, I will keep this article rather simple, starting out with some basic points, observations, and questions, then providing the evidence and solutions alongside some charts for reference. For some background upon myself, I am an integrative nutrition health coach, as well as a researcher and educator on natural medicine and natural law for over 5 years, as of 2020. Writing a book, having a health news show on different video platforms, connecting with different doctors locally, and I have been a vocal speaker in northeastern Pennsylvania, conducting everything from interviews to documentaries to health journalism. In particular, you can look at a lot of my past videos. A lot of it is focused on health, for example, if you're on any one of my video channels. So I ask you to please have an open heart, an open mind upon the following information transformation. To state it first bluntly, our left brain hemisphere must work with our right brain hemisphere in critically thinking with an open mind. This may be seen as alike Western medicine and Eastern medicine working in harmony. Shall you seek to understand this perspective, our view upon health, which means whole, becomes more whole, or may you say holistic. I am open to receiving feedback upon this matter and would be open to any conversation about it, since the knowledge about the solution is often consistently taught through word of mouth. Herein lives a society with disease in a world of so much innovation. With many answers, sometimes perhaps too much, we shall ask many questions upon why the world is the way that it is, to make a full diagnosis, effectively changing and saving the world, right, as I mentioned. Health is always harder when a condition or ailment is present, and if many, health becomes a treatment-focused model. There are always many conditions to account for when it comes to an individual's health, however, to which there is always some battle being waged internally and externally. The question is if we become defeated or exhausted in this battle at a dis-ease. It may therefore be reasonable to assume that we want this battle to be of ease, of a natural defense setup to defeat all intruders, for example. We would hope for an individual to become self-sufficient or self-sustainable in this way, so that they no longer have to rely upon the medical system or any one drug or physician's constant treatment. For if it is even health care to be as part of the system, does one ever ask why the care hasn't been so present in the modern Western world? Why is the field of health coaching growing, and why were these schools created by physicians? Why isn't care a great part of the focus? For if it's part of a system, does one ever ask what system is intended in nature for health? Does one ever ask about the most optimal world for self-sustainable health, where individuals have a moral obligation and responsibility to be in charge of their own health? Do most physicians genuinely care for an individual and spend much time with them in order to help the individual heal themselves? You may know some of the answers to these questions, What I am to propose to you here is how we can live in the healthiest world possible with the most care, most sustainability, most responsibility, most physicians, most medicine, with diversification and options in the simplest yet the most powerful system, to which all comes about naturally if we understand and educate the world about one core root cause to all evil in this world. It would be an understatement to say it can be a possibility, and you may be wondering if this is far-fetched. However, this is as real as it can get, and it is totally possible by natural law. If you are someone in the health field, you may or may not practice a form of natural medicine, but it may be very likely you have never heard of natural law. To base the idea of healing through nature, we may present the following. Quote, nature itself is the best physician, end quote. Or, quote, the natural healing force within each of us is the greatest force in getting well, end quote. Both by Hippocrates, the father of medicine. The following quote also gives credence to the idea of having an open mind, as it is here required for the information transformation that I'm sharing with you. Quote, the art of healing comes from nature, not from the physician. Therefore, the physician must start from nature with an open mind. This is by Paracelsus, the father of toxicology. It is telling when we consider that toxicology deals with understanding nature and its effects in the detection of toxins, then connecting to the idea that man may try to be nature instead of working with nature. There's question of harmonization or supportive diagnosis that relies in utilizing intended human nature, forms of love and teaching, rather than authoritarian diagnosis, which relies in human dependency, forms of fear and control. If individuals do not love their life, are not happy with their relationships or career, do we question how much this may affect their health? Through this understanding, we may realize that this all comes down to love or fear, nature or man, questioning if we are in control of our own health or not, and what we are supposed to actually be in control of. Will one be in control of their own health if they are dependent on man and fearing what will happen, having no knowledge of their own condition and constantly putting their own health down due to other life influences? Surely, physicians come of great help in the world. However, wouldn't it be a physician's goal with other physicians to reduce overall disease present within society, therefore reducing overall dependence on their own job? Do you see how government has affected the pharmaceutical world, or vice versa? To get to the heart of the matter, individuals' own health belongs with themselves righteously, just as they own their own life. It is their own property by natural law. And natural law is defined as universal, non-man-made, binding and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of behavior. It's a body of universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. We may say that natural medicine includes, a variety of treatment options, is to heal the body, whereas natural law is to heal the world, as we are learning and abiding to heal through way of nature, in both ways. Natural law is also considered the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction, the golden rule, and karmic or moral law. The heart of natural law is understanding morality to help determine right from wrong behavior and attracting what we desire in life, which would contribute to good health. With this knowledge for healing the world, macrocosmic, alike the body, which is microcosmic, immoral acts are those of which result in harm to other sentient beings, or their property, or that of which is in opposition to natural law. Any action that does not cause such harm is a right. Okay, so knowing right from wrong is also what tells us what our rights are. So natural law always holds true regardless of a population's belief systems. This means that it does not matter how many people agree that a wrong can be turned into a right, or vice versa. Every individual has the same exact rights. No one has any more or less rights than anyone else. Also, since rights are not created by humanity, and since they are the birthright of humanity, gifted to us by nature, no human being or group of human beings is actually capable of granting rights to anyone else, nor is any human being capable of revoking rights from anyone else. We may very well connect our understandings of medicine to the law, for all behavior must go by natural law, regardless if we recognize the law or not. Most of us have some sort of understanding of the law in our own lives, even if it's not of the holistic tapestry that it is. However, it is the duty of a physician to recognize that whole tapestry for effective and efficient healing. And a modern day teacher who goes in depth with this tapestry of a subject called natural law is somebody named Mark Passio, and he's based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So does the health community seek to understand how government has restricted use of certain medicines, through the ages, how tyranny affects health, or how Western medical education has limited nutritional understanding? And do they seek the most effective form of long-term healing to finding the root cause to these manifested problems in the world? Freedom in life, includes being free from disease, free from pain. The solution to treating the root cause to all evil is indeed understanding this very fact and teaching others the same. Doctor as teacher. It's a naturopathic principle. So, however, it is knowing what is true freedom and what is the prime culprit, otherwise known as the root cause, as I've been mentioning. It is education that draws social and cultural change, to which then provides direction and changes the world naturally. We can very well learn by law that in a truly free world, health and medicine of all kinds is optimal. That for a truly free world, mass amounts of individuals must know morality and align their actions with natural law. That only in a truly free world, it is optimal in alignment with natural law. So, what is freedom then? This goes back to the idea of love and fear. And these are the two initial expressions of natural law. These are of the generative polarity as to what we use to create. Love is of the positive natural law expression, whereas fear is of the negative natural law expression. If we are to follow the positive expression to the initiating expression as to how it starts, knowledge comes from love, going back to the idea that we have an open heart, therefore an open mind, in that a physician must start from nature with an open mind. It is here where we now have both the left and right brain in harmony, the brain and heart in harmony, what we call true intelligence, toward those who we seek to heal. Well, what are we missing? What are we missing that is part of this holistic whole? Well, Hippocrates stated, quote, "All disease starts in the gut." And indeed, this is the case, as what we do with our minds and hearts is expressed through way of the gut. This is essentially equivalent to that of caring, to knowing, to acting. Okay, so heart, mind, gut. Knowledge and love cannot do anything without their expressive action, just as the gut cannot function without its proper nourishment and intended nature at work, working alongside the other organs. Such constitutes digestion, to which may be applied to food or even information as we have here, and often in the case of changing the world, to which food still relies as an important factor. With digestion taking place in the gut, as well as a great part of our immune system, Hippocrates also stated, quote, "A bad digestion is the root of all evil." Therefore, if we were consuming, quote-unquote, negative knowledge, or the illusion of knowledge, as termed by Mark Passio, where we are based in fear that leads to ignorance, if not negative knowledge, to confusion, to control, and to chaos, our digestion will not only be less conscious, therefore not of bodily love, it would be uncontrollable by the host and ultimately harmful for the host. However, beneficial for the pharmaceutical companies who may rely on such health dependence rather than health independence. It is reasonable in this sense, and as by the natural way of life, to have love based knowledge to then give way to sovereignty or an internal monarchy having control over ourselves, and freedom external anarchy for order which is manifested good. These are the internal, what happens inside of us, and external, what happens in society, expressions for the manifestation or result in society. We are happier and therefore healthier, and healthier, therefore happier, when we are truly sovereign and free. This applies to all human beings. This knowledge is all about reducing harm done to and by the world, and it's by understanding the manifestations existent. Modern pyramid systems are very unlikely to do this, as most will not face the reality and speak openly of our current manifestation being a negative expression and chaos or a manifested evil. This knowledge is considered occult for the very reason that it is hidden in having a power differential in the pyramid system's nature, relying on knowledge as power, holding it reserved for a few at the top, what's symbolic for the eye, the enlightened ones at the top, while those are the rest that are in the bricks in darkness. They don't have the knowledge as power. It can't set them free because the knowledge is kept away from them. So society, which is that mass pyramid base, is left scrambling, divided with one another in darkness of set-in-stone bricks, often confused about our nature and the nature of our world, not knowing right from wrong behavior, thinking there is no objectivity to the matter. Human belief is completely irrelevant when it comes to the existence and operation of natural law, just as it is irrelevant in relation to any of the other laws of nature, such as gravity, inertia, momentum, thermodynamics, or electromagnetism. Similar to such other phenomena of nature, the workings of natural law require no belief in order for them to be discovered and known. Freedom is external anarchy, and what is real anarchy is simply that of having no rulers, but not no rules. And therefore, if there are no masters, there are no slaves. The word anarchy has been twisted much in recent times. However, it may be seen as true freedom or nature. And the book, quote, The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke, describes this quite well, as does the author, teacher, and filmmaker Larken Rose, as you can also refer to the references provided below this article, both of whom speak of this through common sense, not only limited to, the lens of natural law. So, with knowledge of where freedom truly lives, where ownership truly lives, being brought to more and more folks, the business of a practitioner never vanishes. It, in fact, has more reasonable placement, and it will only continue to improve and innovate for actual good in the world. Therein is simply no largely manifested hierarchical or manipulative pyramid schemes. None shall violate the rights of others. Such constitutes the mass understanding or education of natural law and its transgressions. Life, rights, and freedom are all forms of property that belongs with human beings. Our own health is always ultimately in our own hands. Nobody can feel our own pain or tell us how we should ultimately live our own life. This also debunks the diet industry in rather seeking an integrative approach with knowledge of many different diets for that of not being restrictive, but rather a way of life, a sustainable lifestyle tailored to each individual. This education of freedom is incomplete without realizing what is creating the manifested evil in our world, and this is considered statism. A statist is an individual who erroneously believes that there is such a thing as authority vested in certain human beings, magically giving them the right to rule over other people. This authority means that certain people who we call government have the moral right to issue commands to those whom they rule, those under their quote-unquote jurisdiction, and that their quote subjects or slaves have a moral obligation to obey the arbitrary dictates or laws set by their masters. So, most simply put, a statist is someone who believes in the legitimacy of slavery. So, to know of real anarchy as nature is to simply understand your role in nature as a human being, not to go by the twisted title of anarchist. One who knows that there could never be a legitimacy to authority or government because those terms are simply euphemisms for violence and slavery, which are always immoral and in opposition to natural law. The pyramid systems always rely on those who uphold such system, for no bricks atop would remain if those at the base disintegrate from it, leveling out the playing field. So the next question is how we digest this knowledge within itself, and such stands as reason for love and consciousness as the driving force. However, bringing folks out from their negative expression into the positive requires acts of courage, conversation, responsibility, and guidance, what may be called multiplicative expression. It is understanding, reasoning, caring, and connecting with who we seek to heal, which in the case of the world includes both this microcosmic and macrocosmic view for the most holistic healing. The knowledge of statism will not be spoken of in the medical industry and certainly not in politics, as man's law and man's medicine give way to another in their nature of hierarchical, egotistic, and left-brain imbalanced source. This matter isn't political. In fact, it is the very opposite. It is about living in accordance to nature, which medicine, religion, and science is to ultimately understand, is it not? So, nature, we know, is healing, but your mind and heart and guts in attune with it, not just your body, is what will give us not just health, but peace, the ultimate health and freedom. It also must be noted how the media can affect an individual's health, and how one would see past the media by knowing their own rights and universal knowledge. You must question how unifying such can be for the world. No fear is necessary. The media may want individuals to think that they themselves make up the government or media, where if the politicians or media fear, you fear. However, in reality, nothing matters as long as you can defend yourself and you remain healthy. You're simply living your life. If it's immoral, then it's wrong. If it's of the past, then we should learn to be more present. When people are normally responsive to all things, they are in good health, are they not? If we are loaded with toxins, health would be essential to any quote-unquote awakening. Question how much in this world is built upon fear, or threat of violence, or ego, and such may constitute enough for your understanding in this perspective alone. That is, of course, if you still have a heart. It is no surprise why cardiovascular disease is most common, or why brain ailments are growing, or why the gut is being the most impaired. And I do want you to use your heart because a lot of folks in the science or health communities could be left brain dominant, right? Could be left brain dominant to an imbalance that restricts their mind from further learning this information. So question how much in this world is built upon all those things, right? And when we combine the right brain deterministic component of natural law and intuition with the left brain randomness component of free will and action, together we find the center balance path of truth. You could refer to the graphics after this article for more reference. The role of health is to be as complete and universal as natural law, for that of understanding the relationship between the whole body and its environments and the whole bodily world and its environments, objectivity to the individual and the situation. Nothing gets done without good health. Health takes over all matter. Luckily, not everyone is fully dependent on the system just yet, and I hope to never see it, but it continues to grow as we keep getting what we keep doing instead of treating the root cause. Now you know the solution, although we can of course go on more about it, however painful it may sound for some to accept. It is simply the education of self-ownership, true freedom and morality for the riddance of statism, the prevention of manifested evil, and the treatment of immoral acts. All that we have covered here leads to the conclusion that government, which is mind control in Latin, governor mentis, is slavery. Okay, so government is slavery and nature is the answer, whether of the body or world around us. Nature is the true physician, the true teacher, and the masterful artist. It is up to us to listen and act in alignment. Hence why I created a movement around such recognition and education of universal understandings so that humanity can move toward a better world that is objectively possible for the objective better. It is a forever objective, the mission as message as movement for the one great work in the one true war, the one true divide, the one true question. So, are you with nature or man and the denatured? We must treat new beings in this world with care, for the health statistics of the near future may even rid or denature of our simple nature and abilities from such. You have to question how much of the newer generations will be even able to think. So thank you for reading this, and I would be willing to converse about any of the topic matter with individuals to make the intentions and points more clear and detailed if need be. We are to be. This is for the survival of humankind, the prevention of democide, to save millions of lives in the generations ahead. Educate your fellow physicians and plant seeds. Open conversations, make observations, and practical experiments for yourself. Let's put truth into action and action into truth. Let's use human nature for nature, or we lose the beauty that is life in living. So thank you for listening to this part of the video. And as you can see on this page, for again, what is nita.1/health, you will see there's a button right here where you can learn the natural law, and it is recommended. You'll see there's some slides here from Mark Passio's natural law seminar, including diagnosis, what natural law means by its own definition, and then brain structure, brain chemistry. We got quotes, and we have way more here that you can see, and it goes way more into depth. Here's a overall graph connecting everything. The true great work, which entails, what people are doing to educate the world about these subjects. And so I would recommend all that. And you can also download the slides. You can read a study guide. There's other forms of learning as well on that same page from the button. Then there's extra slides that I've created based on reading many different books on the topics that were provided and talked about within the article. You can see integrative nutrition is also a topic when we talk about diets, for example. And you can also see those slides. And then there's even videos here talking about many different things related to health, to ego, to censorship, the state of health, what it's like to talk about these topics in the modern world. What does it mean when I say, nature or denature? And there's much, much more to come from that. And even on my video channels, you may see other resources as well. There's networks of teachers around the world who talk about this subject. There's also perspective docuseries of many people, many quotes, a lot of philosophy. There's even specific sheets for natural law definitions, even the movement definitions and other things. There's action step sheets. There's everything I try to provide in here. So here's my concluding statement here. Simply by having a thinking populace, an obligated to be self-sustainable populace, there is less of all evil in total and as a whole. If any doctor or physician wants to go the utmost peak of healing individuals, they would look into how nature is the answer, whether by movement or message or both, and realize that there is greater healing to be done in the world, a mission as message that applies to fixing our disconnection with nature. Again, to see and understand that nature is the answer, treats the whole, then that is the utmost remedy for all of health, all the populace. It is to see that any individual change is important, but as long as it's creating a ripple effect through which nature is the answer allows its passage, or the one great work, for example, to those in the dark, or to those who need the truth or healing the most. Right? And there are individuals as such. So individuals may question why I went from natural medicine to educating others about natural law. However, it was always ultimately about education and truth at the end of the day. how will you contribute to the world for good, especially if nobody else or the large amount of society will do what is necessary to do? So if nobody's doing what is necessary, and you see something that's so truthfully evident by the day, are you going to speak up about it? Well, it's my moral obligation to share this with you. See, I could be on a farm, I could be writing my health books, working with clients, hanging with family more, or whatever, but instead, I'm actually sacrificing my time to this cause, and don't get me wrong, it is a necessary cause. And being that it comes with great awakenings and personal benefits, this sacrifice, although hard at times, obviously promotes good. Therefore, life, therefore, health, happiness, and love, especially long term. Just know your limits. There's time to reflect before time to project, and this is necessary. You don't have to take this from me. I'm sure you, as well as most of society, generally knows what is healthy or even what is right, but many may not know how exactly to navigate it or bring it to others in the modern world. And I can tell you that the arguments and complications come about often due to simply our complexities of the man-made world of, this law must be that by man's law, the very nature to be questioned, getting right to the root, and this tax must be this, although theft, it is theft in nature, and specifications that essentially they don't have to do with everyday attainable common sense. So it is one to speak of the problem and the better world, another to speak of how the better world is possible and what solutions there are for the solution. So simply knowing how society treats natural health is telling of everything. Anyone in the natural health field that does not see that connective everything fails to see health in its nature. The world can be crazier than ever at any time, and it is just important that you not only prepare physically, mentally, spiritually, and so forth, but that you help others do the same. And just because you are, or you are getting out there in different ways, does not mean you ever let your guard down or ever let the forces get to your physical, mental, or spiritual holistic health. In fact, in any mass situation of the world, it is of greatest learning from nature or of greatest deception and manipulation from man. If we teach each other wisely during such times, we will emerge as our best, most optimal human selves. Let us crowd out the bad by adding in the good, however, coming to distinguish the two, as done in integrative nutrition. All such is why I created this project of Nature is the Answer, the movement that you actually are a part of. It includes you. So let us help one another. It doesn't simply rely on me, and bring this knowledge to all where power truly belongs. Look into it for yourself and get back to me. Show me your thoughts. Ask some questions. I'm willing to open this conversation up. Because we can heal the world like we do with the body. We must first have faith in knowing that healing is possible. So let this be a guide among your journey. Ever question why some of the individuals who created great change in this world were doctors or spoke much of medicine and healing? Think Gandhi, Martin Luther King, right? In their honor, we shall learn from their legacy and continue their messages in this great work. Thank you for watching. This is Corey Enderlot. Nature is the Answer.